Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography Podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. If you're looking for jewelry that makes an impact on your self-care routine and your style, Empowerography would love to offer you a discount code to one of our exclusive partners, Quartz and Canary Jewelry and Wellness Company. Please use code EMPOWER15 to receive 15% off upon checkout at www.quartzandcanary.com. Quartz and Canary is truly the place where spirituality meets style. Hello, everyone. Brad Welsh here, your host of the Empowerography Podcast. Today, my guest is Vanessa Kops. She is the owner of Bella Media and Company based in New York. How are you doing today, Vanessa?
I'm great, Brad. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you very much for agreeing to be here today and share a bit about your story and your journey. I appreciate you taking the time to share with us today.
It's my absolute pleasure. Yep.
And how's your day going so far?
It's a weird kind of day. It's like a gloomy day here, but it's gloomy weather-wise, but happy because it's my little guy's birthday. So it's a great day.
Well, happy birthday to him.
Thank you.
So, Vanessa, you are the owner of Bella Media and Company. You're the editor-in-chief of Bella Magazine. You're the host of a Facebook Watch TV show called Life is Bella. You host a podcast called Real Talk Bella. You're the co-founder of Entrepreneurial Think Tank and the ETT Women Foundation. You're on an advisory committee for women of color and philanthropy. You're an author, and last but certainly not least, a mother. That is one hell of a resume. I have to ask, how on earth do you have the time to fit all that in?
Great question. I've always been of the mindset, I guess when I was growing up, I believed that you could have it all, right? You could always have it all. After motherhood threw in its wrenches, I realized that yes, you could have it all. You just can't have it all at once. Mm-hmm. So I am, there was a buzzy word that was floating around the webosphere for a while that said, you're a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I believe that I'm just a woman who is in pursuit of happiness and doing work that I am passionate about and that I am that brings joy to not just myself, but to the people around me. So quite frankly, to be able to do all of this, I have to rely on other people. It would be I would be an egomaniac to tell you that I've got this down to a T, which is a complete lie.
Yeah.
I have an incredible husband who is very supportive of not just the work that I do, but also of my family. He is like an engaged parent, so we share the responsibilities there. And I have an amazing team within the Bella community. I like to think that I delegate very well, and therefore it's a well-oiled machine. And with regards to ETT Women, I have a business partner on that end, and she picks up, her part of the slack. And quite frankly, it's shared responsibility. And I think that we would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge, I know what my strengths are. I'm a very creative person. I always say, I'm the fire starter. And then I walk away. And then I just look for the people who can finish the task because I'm not the best at that. And I recognize that, many years ago, especially as an entrepreneur, you need to really understand where your strengths lie and where your weaknesses are, and then find people who can support you in your weaknesses so that everything else kind of just doesn't fall off the plate. So that's how I do that, Brad.
It takes a village, right?
It does take a village. I delegate. And I think that, again, I always like to stress this point because with entrepreneurship comes the fact that you've created your it's like you're birthing a child.
Yes.
Also, your business is like birthing a child.
Yeah.
But the reality is that you didn't do that by yourself.
That's
right.
Right.
That there are other people that you counted on, relied on, begged, right? I remember begging. I still beg a lot for, where I ask for favors, or I, collaborate, or I do. So yeah, there's a lot of shared responsibility. It definitely is quite a village. And I'm so grateful that, I can call on, the people who belong to it and know that they will, be there to support me.
Yeah, for sure. What does your average day look like then, Vanessa? Can you break that down for us?
So every day is definitely not the same.
Right.
I can't tell you that from Monday through Friday, I have this set schedule. What is the same is typically my morning rituals. That's something that I don't bargain with, just because they are a necessary source for my mental health. I am a depression sufferer, have been for many years, and I have to do some sort of physical activity in the morning, whether it's walking for a few minutes or meditation or yoga. But every morning starts out with my cup of coffee, where I, meditate, pray over coffee, and then I go into, whether it's yoga, my Peloton, or the treadmill. Something has to happen.
Yeah.
And then I do make it a point, I am lucky enough that I am able to be home with my children. I think those morning moments, those minutes that I get with them in the morning are like super magical, and I do spend it with them. And then I head out to my office, whether it's New York or New Jersey. I try to take turns so that they both get the attention that they deserve. But I think that that's the beauty of entrepreneurship, is that you have the ability to really make your day what it needs to look like, not opposed to what it has to look like.
Right.
And I can fill in the gaps, and then I can have, I can rely on my team to be where I can't be. But that's pretty much it. I am notorious for having like really hard boundaries around my weekends, because that's just, I guess, you repeat behaviors from that you grew up with. My parents, regardless of the fact that they worked many hours, both of them in other people's businesses, weekends were sacred. Like, we spent them as a family.
Yeah.
So I try to do the same. It's not to say that I don't go to bed early, later, and wake up earlier than my family does on weekends if I need to check something or do something for work. But I try to not engage in anything that has to do with work activities on the weekend. And, because I do work very hard from Monday through Friday. So I hope that answers kind of vaguely your question, because the reality is that, a day looks like what a life looks like. I am not of the school that you can separate your personal from your professional. I feel like your professional is meant to feed your personal. That's why it's, I came up with a theory many years ago. It's like the 360 lifestyle, where one thing is codependent on the other, because if you're saying yes to something that is work related, you're saying no to multiple things that affect your personal life. So you have to understand that it's a symbiotic relationship and there is no separation. And I think the sooner that we do understand that, the happier ultimately we will be, because then we will begin to look at work with more joy and more passion than, like that grunt work, like, oh, I got to get this done. So
I agree with that. But I think the first part of that is finding what makes you happy.
Oh, 100%.
Doing that, right? Because you think about all the people that are stuck in jobs that they go to that they absolutely hate. So that's the first piece of that puzzle. So 100%. You went to school for teaching. You started out your career as a teacher. What inspired you to become a teacher?
So I am known for having, I guess, a saucy attitude. And the reality is that just comes from just having a voice. It took many years for me to get to a place where I was comfortable with just speaking up and calling something out that I didn't feel was serving me. So backtrack. my first career was actually design. I went to school for, and the really cool part of my first career, because I was literally 9 courses away from graduating from design, was that it involved all aspects of creativity. So I took filmography, I took videography, I took direction, I took painting, photography, I know I am capable of doing all of these things, right? So I was supposed to hand in a project for one of my design teachers. And according to her, it wasn't up to par. It wasn't up to her standards.
Okay.
And I remember how she made me feel. I remember that she belittled my work, basically made me feel like I was stupid, because that's literally just how I felt. And that day, I vowed that if I were ever to be in a position where I am teaching someone something, I would never make them feel the way she made me feel.
Right.
So in a way, it just took me in a completely different direction than I thought my life was headed, right? I had many visions of, being a creative force, which which obviously is what I stepped into after the fact. Yeah. But teaching was comfortable, because then I went back. I had been offered a teaching job. So, and then I'm notorious for, if I'm doing something, I want to be the best at that. So I had to go back to school, and it was just a matter of me just continuing to improve myself. And I said, if I am going to do this, I'm going to get the certifications and the knowledge that I actually need to do this well. And I did that. I finished, with a 3.9 grade average, graduated in education, and with a postgraduate course in human development. So a lot of people tell me, like, you should have been a shrink. And I'm like, well, I got the psychology down. I took it long enough in college to kind of be there.
Yeah.
But, dealing with children means that you have to learn how to deal with human behavior and understand where things come from and why they happen. So I was grateful that I had that submersive experience. And I did it for almost 17 years. So,
wow.
I loved teaching, because I taught from first grade to high school. Okay. I absolutely loved teaching my high schoolers. Because they had as much of a saucy attitude as I did. And it was fascinating, the conversations that we had. And it was just interesting to see, the things that I used to do in high school, these kids trying to do them to me. And it was like, dude, no, it's not gonna fly. Like, let me tell you what you should have done. I was like, in my head, I'm like, had you come at me this way, you probably would have gotten away with that.
Yeah.
But no. So that was, and I taught high school at a very young age. I was in my early 20s. So these kids saw me as their friend, but I was also very stern and very strict. And stern and very strict, to the point where I thought they hated my guts, and just how life would have it. Many of them, even, last week, have reached out to me after, they're now married with children, and have said to me, of course, making me feel like, older than dirt, but, it's really fascinating just to see the anecdotes, what they come back with. And they say, you used to always say this and this and this. And now that now that I'm a mom, I get it. And I understand it. Because that's typically how it is, right? Like what we tell our children. You're not going to get it now, but wait till you have your own.
That's right. That's right. That's amazing, though, teaching, that they're reaching out and still connected with you. That's pretty cool.
I guess I wasn't that bad.
No, apparently not. For them to reach out to you, no, definitely not.
Yeah, and what has been fascinating about the teaching part is that, honestly, it just set the basis for a lot of the work that I'm doing now, because again, this is all very psychology based, emotional based, writing and the creative work and marketing is really, you have to follow human behavior and understand why people act the way that they do, why people buy what they do. So if you don't understand that, then you're not doing your due diligence for your brand, for your company. So,
right.
Yeah.
Now, you also were talking about design and you worked in the fashion world. You created
Mm-hmm.
your own line of costume jewelry, which actually ended up being featured in the pages of Bella magazine. Can you
Yes.
tell us a bit about your journey in the fashion world and how that led to the launch of your costume jewelry line?
So there's a little bit of drama in that there, but then what good story is it, right? It doesn't have a little drama in it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the reality of it is that I have always been passionate about shoes. I ended up working, I was literally in the shopping center applying for one job, and I was so, I guess, put together and had really fabulous shoes on that an Aldo executive saw me as I'm walking out of one store and saw me walking by his store.
Mm-hmm.
He happened to be there that day, and I had an additional resume in my hand. So he came out of the store and said to me, he's like, are you here, looking for, because I obviously looked like I was looking for work. So, and I said, coincidentally, yes, I am. He's like, well, we're hiring. Would you be interested in working for one of the, biggest shoe stores in the United States? And I mean, back then, Aldo, who doesn't know who Aldo Shoes
Aldo's
is?
huge.
So I was just taken aback. But at that same time, it's like, oh, my mom used to always tell me, don't leave your house looking like a slob. So, and I just remember just being very, put together and well dressed. So I could see where he would take my fashion sense into consideration for a position that obviously has to do with fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I got my foot in the door into the world. And there's a lot, I have to say, shout out to Aldo Shoes and their company culture. I learned so much through their training, through their capacity, just all that they do for their employees to just be fully equipped to respond, to understand why shoes work a certain way, which for a shoe lover, you just like the style, right?
Yeah.
But then to really kind of understand the psychographics behind why that shoe is made the way that it is, and who is it made for. So that's where I got my start into branding, because I had to understand, well, this heel works for a working woman. It doesn't necessarily work for a stay-at-home mom. So, and I was there for about 2 years. And then once I had my first child, I could no longer maintain both lifestyles, right? Like I had to kind of pick and choose my battles.
Right.
So after I had my first son, I went into a bout of postpartum depression. And one morning I just woke up with this idea that I had to do something creatively so that I wouldn't really just go crazy. And I started to create jewelry. So that's how that came about. So I used my knowledge that I had gained from branding and marketing and just working with people in and connections that I had from working with Aldo to then launch what was a really successful, I mean, it still is a successful jewelry line, and it got into the hands of like several celebrities, and I was able to market myself really well. When I did it myself, then it got to be a lot, because at the same time I had launched my own blog where I was utilizing it to kind of just vent to the world.
Yeah.
Do I want to be a mother? I'm not 100% sure yet. I love him. I know I can't return him, but it was never about my son. It was always about how inadequate I felt to be, I was so, I guess this whole guilt trip of, oh my God, I'm so lucky to have this, and I don't know what to do with this gift right now. Like, am I going to be able to keep this child alive? Yeah. That was my biggest fear, was keeping him alive and keeping him, the least traumatized as possible. Because I think no one really tells you how, the amount of work that goes into parenting. There's only so, I mean, you saw it growing up, but you're like, that's my mom and dad. Who cares?
That's right.
And it really isn't until you experience it that it really does, a number on you. So that's how that happened. And incredibly, the jewelry line really opened up doors. It's how I connected to the magazine. The former owner was attracted to my jewelry line. We became friendly. I then began contributing to the magazine, ended up being, because I was, had experience by launching my own blog with the digital aspects of an online publication. I became the digital marketing director, then the social media strategy. So I was in it until they decided to sell almost 2 years ago. And then it was just a knee-jerk opportunity reaction to buy it from them. Yeah.
Wow. So your costume jewelry line is still up and you're still doing that as well.
It's more it's literally more custom. So I have people that will call me and ask me for specific pieces. And I actually deferred that back to a couple of girls that I have working for me back where I'm originally from, which is the Dominican Republic. Okay. And when those requests come in, because I always source from the DR, I always use gemstones that I got there. That's what made the jewelry like unique and special. Right. It wasn't something that you were just going to find anywhere. It was literally, I would take trips, go get the stones, bring them back, and make whatever it is that the customer wanted. But yes, that's how it's still kind of operating, is on a custom order by order basis. Yes.
Right. Okay. So your story and your history is obviously quite intertwined with Bella Magazine. And I mean, how long did you work there before you ended up buying Bella Media and Company?
So unofficially almost 9 years, officially 7, because it was, I contributed occasionally, and then I formally was like hired for a position, 7 years ago. So I mean, a big part of the magazine is officially 10 years old as of January of this year. Wow. So ever since inception, I had been a part of the publication. Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you tell us a bit about Bella Media and Company? Is this the umbrella company for Bella Magazine and everything else that falls under that? That is, eh? Okay. Correct. Can you tell us a bit about it?
Yes. So Bella Media and Company is a multimedia company. So we not just only publish Bella Magazine, which is both print and online. We publish Bella Latina Magazine, which is the Spanish version of Bella. And then we also do digital marketing, branding, videography, events, PR, social media, anything that it has to do with creating a brand is what we do. Okay. And Bella Magazine is a lifestyle publication, which, is all about beauty, fashion, travel, cuisine, philanthropy, and it's meant to serve men and women on mind, wellness, where to go, where to shop, what to do, what you actually need without breaking the bank. And if you want to splurge a little, we have that too. So, yeah.
Do you write for the magazine still, or are you just the editor in chief now? Do you do any writing for it still?
So writing will always be my passion. It's literally what I've done ever since I put a pen to my first diary. So yes, in every issue you will find something written by me. Some articles go a little bit more in depth. Some when I do have the time to dedicate, to a more, deeper level conversation or story that I want to tell. But yes, there's always something from me in each issue. However, each issue is not about me. It's about, the people who are being featured. I've been very conscious about who we feature on our covers as of late, especially since taking over, because the publication needed a lot more diversity. And I know that that's a very buzzy word right now. Yeah. However, it really needed to be a publication where the regular day-to-day woman or man could pick it up and potentially see themselves, in one of the pages. So it was a very conscious decision for that. Even the stock images, whenever they were needed, we portrayed ordinary, attainable like, it was all very conscious. It was not about just portraying, high fashion.
Yeah.
There had to be an intention, a reason, a purpose behind why that ad is represented with this person. So that's what we've done. Yeah. And I'm very proud of that. Very, very proud of that.
Absolutely. And so you should be. So is the magazine released monthly?
We are bi-monthly.
Bi-monthly. Okay.
So we print 6 issues per year.
Okay.
However, our online content is fresh and new on a daily basis. We update and we publish new articles, because there's obviously only so much that we are able to publish in the article, in the magazine itself. But there's also so many tremendous and fabulous people that, we want to feature and highlight and share. So we do that online.
Okay. Now, where can people pick up the magazine in the online space and in like the physical copies? Where can people get
in the physical copies? Right now, due to COVID, we are simply pushing them out through our offices. So if you were to show up to our New York, office, you could get it there, and you could also get it in our New Jersey address. However, a lot of people have just opted for either subscribing or buying them directly online. Our subscription rate has gone up, thankfully, tremendously through COVID, because nobody really wanted, especially, at the beginning of the pandemic, nobody wanted to leave home.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting to see just that shift, that we didn't really need to be in a bookstore, that people would still purchase it online as long as they could get it home. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you have stated that the media has a responsibility with regards to messaging and how that's communicated to young women in particular. I mean, that's a pretty big responsibility to shoulder. And I would think that not a lot of publications are so concerned about or worry about their messaging towards young women. I mean, in a time where a lot of companies are focused on selling magazines, the numbers and not so much the messaging. Why have you decided to focus your energy and business on helping to empower young women through your messaging? And why is this so personally important to you?
There's so much here, Brad, because here's what it comes down to. Obviously, from, if I were to speak to you from a business standpoint, I would tell you, yes, like our focus should be on selling ads and selling publications and making sure that we're selling and fulfilling, numbers and sales goals and quarterly rates and whatever that may look like. However, I remember being 12, 13 and collecting specific publications just because I loved to read magazines. Have just been a part of like my life, my entire life.
Yeah.
But I also remember how looking at those pictures made me feel. And I also know that I was not the only person on that boat. And I think the mother in me, number one, the teacher, the aunt in me, I have 12 nieces.
Wow.
And I have just a conscious sense of responsibility that what we put out at the end of the day comes down to the decisions that I make, because as the editor-in-chief, I'm the one who says yes or no, right? So I couldn't sleep at night if I'm telling girls to go change who they are, what they look like, to not just feel better about themselves, but to be accepted. That's just a full-blown lie. I could never do that. And the expectation that that's what everybody does, so therefore we should be doing it too. Like I told you before, I have a very saucy attitude. I've always believed that, I've always believed that I just had a responsibility to be a voice for women who were unheard, as I am myself a survivor of sexual assault. I am a survivor of domestic violence. I am a depression sufferer. I am a woman who is simply just trying to do her very best and help as many people as she can along the way. Yeah. And I could not consciously continue to put content out. There's already so much of that. There's already so many other publications telling you how many pounds you need to lose in 1 week to look we're like, you want to, if that's the messaging you want to hear, I'm sure you'll find it. However, if you want to read substance, hear from people who have truly lived out an experience and are showing you that, you know, you're not what happened to you, and you can get through this and get over it and overcome it by doing XYZ, then, you know, we will be the outlet for you. At the end of the day, we're here to be of service. And I always say, you know, who said that fashion and beauty articles can't be an agent of change? Guess what? Everybody seeks them out and they're paying attention. So we need to make a conscious effort. And the beauty of this is that it isn't as hard as people make it out to be. It's not, you know, in the beginning, people are like, well, nobody wants to read that. Guess what? I disagree, because people do. Even more so through the pandemic. I think the pandemic really cemented the direction of where I wanted to continue to take Bella, because right when it was happening, and I told all of my team and my editors, I said to them, I said, we can't write about lipsticks right now. People are dying left and right. This is not the moment to highlight what shoes to wear. This is a moment to highlight the people who are literally saving our lives right now. And we came out with it was called, our beauty issue last year was called the Call of Duty. And, you know, I was in the boat where, because my husband is an essential worker, he was going home, you know, leaving the house every day. And my kids and I were sitting there praying, Lord, let him not get COVID, you know, let him come home to us tonight, you know, and I know that I was not the only person on that boat. So once things became a little bit lighter, then we began to shift the conversation. Again, it goes back to understanding psychographics and the psychology and how you are responding to a situation that is literally affecting the entire world. How do you find your voice within all of this noise? And that's what I have continued to do is, you know, what is the end goal of this article? What is the big picture? How is this connected to our mission and our values at the core? You know, it's just, this role of being the editor-in-chief of a publication, comes with a great deal of responsibility. And I can't stress enough the fact that, you know, I am the person who ultimately says yes or no. And, you know, it sometimes, and I'm not going to say that I've gotten it right 100% of the time, but 99.9 of the people that we have highlighted and featured have so much more than just their celebrity status to share with the world. And that has always been a conscious decision. And I hope that answers the question, because there's a lot of, you know, at the end of the day, it can sound fluffy, it can sound cliche, but the work that is connected to myself, my family, my team is one that I would hope is represented with a lot of pride, you know, that people take, because I feel like my team is very proud of what we put out. And therefore that makes me even prouder, because it's all a conscious decision to highlight people in their best light possible. You know, we're not a gossip publication. We don't care how many times you've been divorced. Like that's not the conversation we're having. We're having, how did you overcome, you know, this difficulty? What would you say to someone who is going through this situation? What could you tell them right now? What could be the silver lining in XYZ? How can you still maintain, you know, a healthy mental health attitude within, you know, the fact that you've probably lost your job and so has your significant other and kids are home? Like, you know, that's what we want to be, is giving people resources to just be able to get through a day.
I love that it's so socially conscious and socially aware, and you're talking about the things that are going on in the world now, as opposed to, like you said, you could have put out a magazine at the time that talked about heels and lipsticks, but you thought that this is not appropriate for the time, and let's talk about what's going on. I love that you did that. I think that's amazing. Not a lot of magazines would do that, which
Yeah.
is, I would think, one of the things that sets your magazine apart. I love it. So with
Thank
you
you.
being in this world, have you noticed a shift in the messaging happening in the media world where publications, et cetera, are being more conscious and mindful about their focus and their messaging?
Well, I think that the people who were doing it consciously have nothing to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
However, those who weren't have had to do it whether they wanted to or not, because
Right.
now the readers are holding publications accountable, right?
Right.
So and it would be a disservice to not acknowledge that you know, the people who you thought you were influencing are
Mm-hmm.
literally telling you exactly what they want to read about and what they want to talk about. And
Right.
if you're not being aware of that, then you're
Mm-hmm.
just, you know, being tone deaf.
Yeah.
But the reality, considering the year we've all had,
Yeah.
it would be just unconscionable to think that companies in general are just not making more informed decisions about where their direction is headed in the future. Because now that things are continuing to open, I mean, what I see is that people are making sure, you know, is this, aside from obviously being COVID compliant, is that, like, what is the bigger picture in this collaboration? What is the bigger picture in this scenario? Like, how are we really making an impact? And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing to see. I never thought I would like actually see it in my own lifetime. You know, I thought I would see it from certain people, but I think a lot of people are getting on board with what is happening. And it's really, really powerful.
It is, for sure. Now, you've really built Bella Magazine and Bella Media and Company into a brand empire. And I mean, you being one of 5 Latina women in the U.S. to helm an international magazine, which of course is Bella, that is a pretty damn incredible accomplishment. How does that feel for you, knowing that you're one of only 5 in all of the U.S.?
I have to say that when I sat down to read like those stats, because the first thing is I don't take myself that seriously, which is honestly, like, I just don't. I'm very focused on the work that is at hand as opposed to, you know, the accolades that may come with any of it. You know, I'm not going to say that I'm not conscious, like aware of it. I just don't take, like, that is not my driver. My driver has always been the impact that we can potentially make. To know that I am 1 in 5, you know, I obviously would say, like, I would love to see more women at the helm of, you know, because there would be such a wider range of diversity and just more flavors and different colors to all of the content that is being put out. But again, it goes back to, and I guess that's the teacher and mother in me, you know, it goes back to this sense of responsibility that I have to just be the bigger person, be socially conscious, be aware, know that it's not just about me, that I am representing other Latina women who are out there, you know, pursuing, whether it's a passion in editorial or design or whatever it may look like, you know, at the end of the day, it carries the weight of the responsibility that you have of representation. And, you know, you can fight it if you don't want it, only so for such a long, I always hear when people say, you know, it amazes me how when people say, like, well, I really don't consider myself a role model. You are literally a role model to everyone that you, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. And that's something that I learned through my teaching career. You know, I had no intention of being a role model. Like, that was not what I set myself up to be. But I knew that children were watching me, and I knew that, and I had to really make a mental note of that, you know, and understand, like, there is an impact of everything that I do and say here with these young minds. And, you know, I feel like if people were more aware of that aspect of life, you know, we wouldn't have, I guess, so many issues like we do today. But that's, you know, I can tell you it's daunting at times. It feels because sometimes you don't want to be the responsible one. You just want to, can I just like eat the popcorn and watch, you know what I mean? Like, can I just sit here? Can I just sit here and like not be the one being in the driver's seat for once? But I don't take it for granted, and I don't take it lightly. I'm very aware of the weight that it carries with it. And I just try my absolute best to do the best that I can with that responsibility.
Well, that's all you can do. And I mean, you do your best and that's it, right? Yeah. I think it's great that you're so aware, though, that responsibility does lie with you, because a lot of people, like you said, don't take that responsibility seriously. So, So with this in mind, then, you had mentioned that you wish more women were doing what you're doing. So with this in mind, what are your thoughts on the landscape of entrepreneurship and women-run businesses? Are you seeing a shift in terms of more women making the jump into entrepreneurship? And if so, why do you think that is?
I think that women, I mean, the awakening has been happening for a while. I feel, just because I have, again, consciously made the decision to not to just associate myself with women. I mean, you have incredible men like yourselves who are doing things that we need more of, just because, I feel like some men are just afraid of the fact, oh no, it's women, it's the women haters. There was someone in my community, somebody's husband in my community, that would call ETT Women the men haters group. And I was like, it has nothing to do with men hating. It has everything to do with just helping women feel empowered and capable. And, to answer your question, I can only go from my own experiences and speak from that. I had this sense of, again, the word responsibility with my household, that I wanted to not just feel productive, but I wanted to contribute in some way, whether it be paying for a swimming lesson or it be paying for the babysitting when my husband and I decided to go out on a date night. Right. So I guess because I've been used to working my entire life, this sense of, and I think that everybody who works and who has built a company just has this sense of pride that brings with it, right? When you create something and then, oh my God, all of a sudden it starts to pay bills and you're like, wow. And this is something that is dependent on me and it's mine. And it not only affords us a living wage, but it gives me freedom. I can actually go pick up my son from the bus and I can sit down, all of these things. So I feel like people, but women specifically, want that sense of freedom and have ultimately understood that with that comes the work that it involves, because it can sound, because I don't want anybody who may be listening to think that this just magically happened. And, I've been able to just build an empire, which I still don't even think it's an empire, but it's work. And it's every day. And it is, and again, and you have to be involved. But again, the pros of building something that is yours, of creating, again, work that is not just gratifying, right? But it's impactful and that allows you to live a life, because then what are we here to do, right? I mentioned earlier, it's my son's birthday. Like I am home right now with my son taking this call, and I'm able to, once we get done with this, go and start making him his cake. Not everyone has the luxury to be able to do that. And that is something that, those are the little things. To be able to do things like this are my why, right? To be able to be home when they need me, to be able to take the trip if I want to or need to, at the drop of a dime, because sometimes my job demands, okay, tomorrow things shifted. We have to head to California for a shoot or whatever that may look like. But the work that I've done to build this company up to where it is has allowed me and affords me the luxury to do things like that. But it doesn't mean that it just, again, like it's every day, it's constant, it's consistency, it's at it every single day. And to your point is, I think women have realized that they have it within them also, and we're looking at each other like, oh my God, she has 5 kids and does XYZ. Okay, I have two. I mean, comparison is the thief of joy, but we're realizing that you can have the best of both worlds, right? Remembering that you can't have it all at once, but you can do your thing. You can have your space. You can be a mom. You can be a wife. You can be a CEO and live a really beautiful life with all of those things, you know, as you pick and choose them. So
absolutely,
that's what I've seen. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I had mentioned earlier on about your Facebook Watch TV show entitled Life is Bella. Can you tell us a bit about that and how that came to be?
So I'm glad you brought this up because we're actually releasing episode 2 very soon. The content in the magazine has, you know, a very limited lifespan. And a lot of our articles are just so amazing and incredible, and they apply to so many different scenarios that I felt like it was time to also give that content to basically like live right on its own on the web, or in a digital form, in a way where people could just sit down and watch it. So it was another way for us to reach obviously a different set of audiences. You know, we have been home more than we ever thought we would be over the past year. So obviously TV and video has just increased in consumption. So what I decided to do was like, why not create a digital, you know, a video form of the articles that we have. And some of them have like exclusive content, and the interviews go a little bit more in depth with our talent and whatnot. But that's how ultimately it came to be. It was another way for just to give our content more legs, and it has been so well received. I mean, I can't stress enough how incredibly talented my team is, and they just, you know, also shine not just on paper, but they also shine on video. So it was a really fun way to bring the content to people in a different way, and I'm excited that it's out, and it's been working really well. Very
cool. How often will you be releasing episodes then? You said you're coming up on releasing your second.
So every other month. So we release the first episode in conjunction to obviously our reinvention issue. Incredibly, we were able to, with the release of the show, we were able to like sell out of that issue, because again, it comes with marketing, you know, pluses that you're not accounting for, because I did not anticipate that happening. However, it did. And so every other month, once the issue is out, a month later, the video comes out, the actual episode comes out. So it gives us, you know, 4 or 5 weeks to work with in between one episode and the other. Yes.
So people can just hop on Facebook and search Life is Bella. Okay.
Correct. It's awesome. And if you have Facebook Watch on your TV, it'll just look for Bella Magazine and it'll pop right up.
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you're also the host of Real Talk Bella podcast.
Yes.
Is this an interview style show, or is it a solo story type show? And how long has the podcast been up and running?
We have 47 episodes. Wow. We launched it last year.
Okay.
It is an interview format, and I typically go, it's interview, but also it's more conversational in a way that I'll get pitched experts or topics where we just go, no filter, no holds barred about a specific topic.
Raw and real.
I believe in being of service. And if we're going to go there and if we're going to talk about it, then let's really talk about it, you know? So, you know, one of my favorite episodes in the past, well, I mean, I have every episode. I always say one of my,
they're like your babies.
Every single episode is like my favorite episode. However, one of the most important episodes that we did have, and it actually like outperformed everything else, was how to talk to your children about COVID and their mental health. And I had a panel of 6 different psychologists and childhood, you know, experts, because of course, I was going through what everybody else was going through. And it was the constant question is, how do I explain this to my kid? How do I say to him, you can't go out with your friend, or you can't meet? And because we've taken away, as adults, we've been able to manage this as best as we possibly can. But a child doesn't understand why he can't have a birthday party. And while that may sound frivolous compared to the amount of people who have been dying at the end of the day. This 5, 6, 7-year-old child only really will remember the fact that he couldn't have his friends over for his party.
Yeah.
So how do you cope with all of that? How do you explain it? How do you kind of know? I mean, and I don't even like, I cringe at saying the word normalizing it, but this is our new normal, and we have had to adapt to it.
Yeah,
and sure. That's the reality of it. So I was very proud of the fact that I was able to kind of bring all of these incredible women together to just all happen to also be mothers, and say, listen, we as mental health professionals are on the same exact boat as everybody else is. So this is how you take it one day at a time, and that sounds really awesome in a podcast, but then when you have to face reality and do it yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And you have a screaming child who doesn't want to get on virtual school anymore, what do you do? Yeah. So, and that's the reality of it. It's been, Real Talk has been that kind of like the one aspect of it where we really go in. I actually have been holding back because I curse like a sailor. But that's where I do it. On that podcast is literally where I just really let loose and ask like difficult questions and have uncomfortable conversations, because it's about being of service to people. And if they could listen, right, and hear someone else say it out loud, probably what I was thinking doesn't make me sound so crazy in my own head, right?
Right.
So that's really the goal of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you also co-founded the entrepreneurial think tank Women and the ETT Women Foundation. Can you talk to us a bit about the mission of the organization and what the inspiration was behind founding it?
Sure. So the original founder was my business partner, Lynette Barbieri. So she would gather in her office, like a lunch and learn situation. It was meant to just be like a networking meeting every Friday with lunch. And I happened to come to a meeting, and I'm very opinionated, as you have probably learned by now. And I would keep interjecting and interrupting her at every meeting, not in a mean way or like a rude way, but just because I was engaged and I was still, pushing my business out. So one day we decided to just get together, meet. She offered me a partnership and said, listen, I think you have great ideas. The one thing that I loved about that whole collaboration was that she had the, almost 20 plus years of experience under her belt. I was still a newbie, still a new mom, and I was still getting my feet wet. So, fast forward 9 years later, which we've been doing this for, ETT Women is an organization that just brings women together for collaboration, support, education. And it was a community that was lacking, especially in our area, where women can just go and receive business resources, right? But it's never just about the business. It always turns into, how can we support you? How can we really help you, take this venture into the next level and create relationships and even friendships, right? Like we now exchange recipes, but in the beginning it was like, what is an email server and what do I use for, I only have 10 people signed up for my list and I don't even know what to do with a list. What's a list? So it was kind of like just business basics for women who were looking for that. And then the foundation launched out of the work that we did as a group, where we would just have someone who knew somebody who was going through something difficult. And we wanted to really be ethical and operate out of integrity. And, if we were collecting money for a specific situation, people could know and just know that it was going to where we said it was going to go. So then we formally decided to launch the 501c3, which now has been in existence for 3 years. I have personally rescued 9 women from domestic violence situations where they've come to live in my home until they've been able to get out and do what they needed to do to get back on their feet. But the intention of the foundation is, it's not just to throw money at a problem, but it's to educate. It's to really be a resource for, the change or the improvement of someone's life, whether it's giving them the training that they need to go on a job interview, whether it's getting them the clothes that they need to go to the interview, to pay a bill, to, we had one of our members who was going through cancer and quite frankly couldn't afford groceries.
Right.
So that was something that we were able to do for, a few months and get her and help her get back to where she needed to be because she was dealing with a serious illness. So that's really what we do as
Amazing.
an organization. Yeah. Thank you.
That is incredible work. Incredible.
Yeah.
You should be very proud for sure.
We are. I mean, at the end of the day, this is, like I said in the beginning, it's about just living a full life.
Yeah.
And boy, do I live a full life.
Yes, I see that.
But the reality is, I would hope and pray that everyone, and I'm not going to say that every day is a good day, but when you have gone through so many mental health crises like I have in my life where, for a period I thought that I was worthless and useless and yada, yada, yada. And that tape was like playing in my head. But to be able to wake up every day with a sense of purpose is quite literally the biggest gift that anyone could just like unwrap. Right.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful that I get to wake up and literally do what I love and have so much fun in the process. It doesn't come without, the ups and downs, but I have to tell you that if I were to disappear tomorrow, I know that this is a legacy that, even my children can look back upon and be proud of. Amazing. So that's the biggest thing for me.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
In addition to all of this and all the hats you wear, you're an author of the book, 5 Steps to Fabulous Choices for Living Beautifully Inside and Out. When was this written and released?
The book released 7 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes, I wrote it. It was literally a cathartic letter to my younger self after being able to release the trauma of my childhood sexual assault. It was me coming to terms with what had happened to me and forgiving that 5-year-old little girl for, going into the neighbor's yard when she was not supposed to, because I carried that with me for many, many years. And it wasn't until I was able to release that and really turn to someone who may have gone through the same thing and say, you can get through this. You can, I thought for many years that I would not be able to have children, get married. And not that was like my ultimate goal was to become a mom and have kids, but it just takes a piece of, just like sanity away from you for a very long time. Yeah. And I engaged in self-deprecating conversations, in self-destructive behaviors, alcoholism and whatnot. So I am extremely proud of the fact that I was able to source, not just from a spiritual standpoint, but for, relying on people and other women who helped me get through those moments, and then now be able to turn around to someone else and say, listen, you can totally do this. You can turn your life around. It will get better. It does get better. And, but you can't do it alone. Right. And this is what you can start to do today if you really want to change whatever situation you're in. So that's the gist of it. And I just walked through the 5 things that I did to get myself out of that like dark place. Yeah.
And how hard was that for you to sit down and actually write that book?
It took me a year to really put the words on paper, because I would have these conversations privately with people in my immediate circle, but obviously it takes time to understand that you are not the one to blame. Right. Again, that shift of I felt very responsible for many years. And it was eating away literally at my soul. Like it was, because I literally believed that what had happened was my fault.
Right.
So, and it wasn't until, I speaking with a therapist that, and she one day, and I'm sure she had said this many times before, but it was just one day where she said, you do realize that you were 5 years old and that person was an adult. So, the responsibility lies in the adult, not on the child.
Yeah.
So, when I was able to, and again, it took me becoming a mother to really understand that.
Right.
For a while I was a little crazy and kooky with my kids. I wouldn't let them by themselves with any random person. I still do background checks.
That's understandable though. It's where it's coming from.
But I was always very like, I had people who would judge, judgmental of just like, oh, but you're not doing it. Now I'm a little bit more, I'm like, well, now they can talk. and now they both know karate and are fully equipped to just karate chop whoever comes at them. And they're capable of calling 911. It's a completely different. I was able to just cut myself some slack, basically. Right. I was holding on to a lot of that for just so many years, and it obviously wasn't serving me. It wasn't serving my relationships. It took me a very long time to actually get comfortable with a partner in life, just because I felt like I wasn't deserving of one. And and my husband, God bless his soul, just because he's been incredibly patient, and because I can be a lot. I can still be a lot, but he also understood and knew the worst parts of my story, right? And didn't judge me. And I think that that's the one thing I think, and we're not going to get into like marriage lessons here, but I feel like that is the beauty of our relationship, is that we've shown each other the worst and the best parts of ourselves, and are still here holding space for each other. And, I thought that was like my mark for a very long time. And he was like, okay. And, I'm here and I'm going to support you through this, and we're going to be fine, and we're going to have kids, and we're going to have a beautiful life. So then I was like, oh, okay, I can have that too, I guess. And, then, everything shifted. So I started just working towards continuing to improve myself, and working through, a lot of that darkness, and hopefully inspiring someone else who may be going through it, had gone through it, is still holding on to that, to release it, because ultimately it doesn't serve you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow. That's the
and that sounds easier than doing it, right? But the reality is that when you are ready to take yourself there, to do the ugly crying, to do the work that it entails with dealing with the trauma, you can then move on to have just a healthier, happier life. And ultimately, I think that's what we all want.
For sure. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it takes a lot to do the self-work, and a lot of people don't like looking inside, and they're scared to look inside, and they don't like what they see looking back at them. So, I mean, I've always said that absolutely everything in life starts with self, and then it just emanates out from there. So you have to be willing to put in the self-work for sure, no matter what it is, to overcome things like what you've overcome, all that trauma, or just to overcome self-limiting beliefs. I mean, I'm not comparing the two by any means at all. But it just goes to show that everything starts with self. You have to be able to put in the work. And
to just, if add something to that, for a long time doing the self-work, I was taught to believe that it was selfish. But the reality is that if you don't have your crap together, you will never ever be able to not just be happy, but you won't be able to make anyone else happy. And that is the ultimate truth. When we hear, meditation or Buddhist or, looking with you have to look within, you have to work on yourself. You have to be happy. Your happiness does not rely on someone else. It relies on yourself. And
that's exactly it.
That should be your number one go-to wake up call source every day is, am I okay? Because if I'm not, I won't be able to make anyone okay, or, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't.
That's right. 100%.
Yeah.
Now, you also sit on an advisory committee for women of color in philanthropy. Can you tell us a bit about that?
So that was something really exciting that fell, that just came through Bella as, a pitch for a story, probably in the middle of summer of 2020. And it was, right after the whole racial divide conversation like really started. And, I never, interestingly enough, I've always navigated life as Vanessa, right? I didn't label myself like a woman of color, not because I didn't believe I was one. It just wasn't something that I threw out, like, on the table for like, oh, and by the way, no, it was just, I was doing the work and whatnot. So when this came across my inbox, I was, of course, I am in philanthropy. I am what we all know what a social entrepreneur. So I said, I obviously have this very engaged platform through Bella and my media company. How can we help this organization connect the dots also? Yeah. So it was just me reaching out to the founder, which I thought was brilliant, of her just bringing all of these incredible women together to just, again, support each other and put tremendous work out into the world. And is how can we then also be of service? And, as a Latina living now in the United States, because again, we all process information differently. Yeah. And how are we, what are we putting forth? What are we seeing in our communities? How can we now utilize our experiences and then bring them together, share, and, what worked, what didn't, and then share that with the entire community of woke is a huge, it's a huge responsibility, but it's also a tremendous body of work that we're so happy that we're able to share with anyone who is in the philanthropy space.
Awesome. The work the amazing work you're doing is just, it's never ending. There's tons of amazing things we're doing. I think it's
Thank you.
Incredible. What do you think your unique skill set or superpower is that's helped you become successful?
Oh, wow. I honestly think my resilience. I really don't, it's not that I don't know how to take no for an answer. I just know that if it's a no, it's probably no right now, but it will be. So I actually had a very funny conversation with someone the other day, and I said, I'm like a cockroach. You really can't kill me. I'll grow legs. I'll find a way. When it's something that I'm truly passionate or believe in, or something that, a team member brings to the table, and I can see, that's just, I think that a gift that I've always had is just a vision. Like I'm able to see things before they happen, or I'm able to connect other people to opportunities and situations. And like I'll have dreams, and I don't mean to, go off on a tangent about being in touch with your spiritual side, but I've just been able to see things very clearly, just like the vision I had of me working for a magazine at 13 years old. Like I had it at 13 years old. I saw myself, and here I am. But that is it. Like if I see it, and if it comes to me, whether it's in a dream or through a conversation, ultimately I see it happen. Like I see it pan out. And whether it's me connecting people to help make it happen, or me executing it directly, I will always try to find a way. So it's like Babe Ruth said, you can't beat someone who never gives up. I just don't. I wake up every single day with it, and I'm, even if I don't feel like it, I still do the work. Awesome. So I do it. You got to do it.
How do you define success? What does that word mean to you?
I think success is not numbers in a bank account. I think success is ultimately your ability to just feel joy every day, that your ability to find happiness, my husband makes fun of me sometimes and say, you think every day it's a happy day. And I'm like, ultimately it can be, because you're just a decision away from it being, a good or a bad day. Yeah. So I think that if you're able to, I guess, okay, to put it just plainly, if I'm able to keep my children alive every day, if they're still breathing by the end of the day, no broken bones, and my husband is satisfied with dinner, we're good.
All right.
We're good. No, but right. I really think that's it. I mean, success is just, your ability to just live a full life. And I think we've spoke about that earlier. So, yeah.
To date, what would you say is your biggest high or your greatest win?
My biggest win? Oh, boy, that's a great question. I have to say that after purchasing the magazine, and my kids went with me for the first time to the New York City office, their delight, like that twinkle in their eye of sitting at what was my desk, and like swinging around in the chair. It actually happened to me, as a kid with my father, where I saw myself in a executive chair. The realization that they too understand that this is possible for them is my biggest win. Is that they know that if they want to, they can create this type of life for themselves. So I really am very proud of that. And both my children, whether they decide to get jobs or decide to create something on their own, they both know that they have the ability to do so if they want to. And that's it.
Important. It's very important, for sure.
Yeah.
What would you say is one of the best pieces of advice you've ever received?
There have been many. I guess from a business standpoint, I can tell you hire slowly, fire quickly is one of the best ones. And from a parenting standpoint, because it was the best and honestly, like the saddest at the same time, is that the minute you have them is the minute you have to start to let them go. Because I feel like, many parents, as I know mine did for a while, try to live vicariously through their children. And it's a mistake that I've tried not to repeat. I've really been conscious about letting my kids be who they are within reason. Of course. But allowing them to really just thrive within the people who they are supposed to be in this world. Yes. Yeah.
What does the word empowerment mean to you?
Empowerment. Self-sufficiency. I that you can always come back to yourself to get something done, that you're capable of it. It's within you.
Awesome. Yeah. We're going to do a little rapid fire section here. So the next few questions are going to be just 1, 2, 3 word answers. Okay.
Sure.
How would you describe yourself in one word?
I'm a badass.
Yes. All right. What's one thing you want but cannot buy with money?
Oh my God. World peace, honestly.
Okay.
Yes.
If you could teach the world one thing, what would that be?
Empathy.
If you had a theme song that played every time you walked into a room, what song would that be?
Girl on Fire, because it does.
If you could change one thing about the world, what would you change?
I guess I would, again, just compassion, to have more compassion for each other.
Entrepreneur life is?
Freedom.
My favorite way to unwind is?
Oh my gosh. Crashing on the couch with my kids for a good movie. We're couch potatoes on the weekends.
Mom life is?
A beautiful storm.
Oh, that's an interesting description. I love that.
Yeah.
The last book or podcast I listened to or read was?
The last book was Talking to Strangers from Michael Gladwell.
Okay, that ends our rapid fire section. If you could sit down and have a 1 hour conversation with anyone in the world, alive or dead, who would it be and why?
Oh my gosh, that one's easy just because we used to have the best conversations, and that would be my father.
Yeah.
Yeah. My father was truly always a wise man, and we always had the best talks, and I miss that desperately sometimes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is one of your favorite entrepreneurial books?
I believe it's the 5 or the 7 laws of success from oh my gosh, John Maxwell.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. What's the most recent investment you've made in yourself?
The recent investment, I actually made a huge investment in my health, just like I'm working with like a nutritionist, and I'm working on my physical, mental health, like for real this time. And no, really, like for real, because we talk about it, we do it for 3 months,
Yeah,
then we drop
right.
it, you know.
Yeah.
But 2020 was like a very big wake up year for me, health wise, for both me and my husband. He's down 52 pounds, I'm down 37 pounds. Like we really took it to a very serious level, just because we both made a conscious choice to realize where we were, you know, both fit. We were like, we can't even run with our kids in the backyard, and we say we want to do these things, but we really can't. So that was, and it's an investment because it has taken away from other things that I want to do or like to do, like going out to eat and drink, right? And enjoying myself in other ways that I really do enjoy myself. But you know, food now for me is a source of it's fuel as opposed to a source of comfort, which I used to do a lot of before. And I'm really excited for my family to just be on this journey together, because we're doing it all together, and our attitude, our entire disposition has changed since we made the shift. So it's exciting.
That's great. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
What is your personal motto?
It's not as, I guess, I don't know, whatever it may sound like, but it is what it is. I say that often, say that literally on a daily basis. Okay. It is what it is. And I believe that so fervently, just because things are what they are. And sometimes we want to try to make them out to be what they aren't. And we begin to tell stories, and we begin to believe stories that we're being told. But when we start looking at things for what they are, for real, without emotion attached to those things, it just gets easier. Yeah. It just gets easier. Yeah.
What would you say is one of the most important things you've learned in your life? And what was your life like before learning it? And what was your life like after learning it?
On a personal level, is that I am not broken. You know, I believed that I was damaged for a very long time. Like I believe that there was something wrong with me for many years. And once I, you know, retold that story and then began to believe what was, right? What really was, then, and calling things for what they are, and calling the thing a thing, as opposed to, you know, identifying as my trauma. Then it just became a game changer. You know, I get asked a lot of times, because it's a very similar question, like, where do you source your like, why are you how are you so confident? And it's just, at the end of the day, if it isn't me, it's going to be someone else. So why not me?
Yeah.
And, but I'm also very conscious and aware that it isn't about me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Somebody has to do it. So why can't it be you? You know what I mean? Absolutely. So that it just has to get done. So if it's not, and so I just jump right in. Sometimes I'm figuring it out as I'm jumping, and sometimes I have no clue. Yeah. But I'll jump anyway. So that's just, you know, that's it for me.
Well, I mean, a lot of people operate that way. It's,
Yeah.
you figure it out as you go. That's how things
Mhm.
work, right? I mean, because if you keep waiting for the perfect time or keep waiting till you think you're ready or keep waiting till you think you know what you need to know, it'll never happen. You just got to
It'll never happen.
figure it out as you go.
Exactly.
If you could go back, Vanessa, and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
You're going to be okay.
Simple and to the point. Love it.
Yeah. You're going to be okay.
Lastly, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, what would that last 30 seconds sound like?
Oh, wow. I think I've said tidbits throughout this whole conversation. I feel like, it's not about you, but it can't be done without you. And quite honestly, just love on each other. At the end of the day, we're here to just help and support each other through this thing called life that is magically complicated, yet incredibly wonderful and beautiful and just awe inspiring. And if we had enough sense to just see it as a collaborative effort, then it would just make everything so much easier.
Awesome. I love that. Vanessa, thank you so very much for taking the time to be here today and share about all the hats you wear and your life's journey and experiences. It's been such an absolute pleasure chatting with you, and I've really enjoyed this time chatting with you. And I appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. And you are now a member of the Empowerography community. So thank you for being that and for joining us here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it. It was a very enlightening conversation, and I love these types of talks. So grateful for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, my name is Brad Walsh, host of your Empowerography podcast. Today, my guest has been Vanessa Kops. She is the owner of Bell Media and Company based in New York. Thanks so much, Vanessa. I hope you have an amazing rest of the day.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at visuphoria.ca and follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.